right, so this is Power Breakfast on Citizen TV, and this next discussion we're about to have affects you whether you drive a car, a motorcycle, whether you are a pedestrian or a passenger. It's Road Safety Week here in Kenya, and we want to check in on the status of our roads and safety in Kenya. So we have some special guests in studio to help us discuss this. Sitting next to me is Mr. Simon Kimutai, the chairman of the Matatu Owners Association. Thanks for being with us. And of course, next to him is Mr. Francis Meja, who's the Director General of NTSA. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Right, of course, like Joy said, that's the discussion we're going to have. We want to kick off the discussion with this story where the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, banned the Toyota Products vehicles from operating as matatus. Now, the IG says police will impound the vehicles that are popular means of transport in many parts of the country. And here's our story by Patrick Higunza.
The Probox, a road warrior who initially arrived as a personal car but has since been adopted into a popular public service vehicle. In many parts of Kenya, the Probox has driven the 14-seater matatu out of the road. But the Probox and their operators stand out for blatant disregard of traffic rules, from carrying excess passengers to pushing the pedal beyond permitted speed limits for PSVs. Vices that not only risk the lives of passengers but those of other road users too, but not anymore.
Ukitaka kununua hizo Probox, fanya kazi ya kuleta mama na watoto, ama mzee na watoto wako, or your cousins, not PSV. Kama unataka kufanya taxi, chukua license.
This latest directive from the Inspector General of Police also comes as good news to matatu operators. The Probox and other cars have been unfairly running them out of business.
We are competing against an entity that is supposed to be non-existent because it is illegal to do. They are not compliant in any way. They are not subject to inspection. They do not pay taxes.
A spot check at some of the local second-hand car dealers reveals the popularity of the Probox. And according to car dealers, the reason as to why the Probox continues to be a preferred road warrior is because of its reasonably fair pricing as well as low maintenance cost and fuel consumption.
Normally it goes around 650,000 up to 700,000. That is the current price.
We buy a matatu unit of Nissan for about 2.5 million. This thing is 700,000. A guy can buy 3 and compete with you and do better than you.
Probox owners will now be expected to limit the use of their cars to taxis or seek relevant matatu licenses.
We do not want individuals endangering others by converting their vehicles that are unsuitable for PSV use into PSV vehicles. It's as simple as that.
This is the third time the Probox is being banned after similar directives were issued by Traffic Commandant Charlton Mureithi and his predecessor Samuel Kimaru. It will be interesting to see if the IG's ban will be implemented unlike previous decrees.
Right, of course, let's pick up from where Igunza left off right there. We said this is the third time that this is happening. And of course, Mr. Kimutai, you're the one who is, most adversely affected as well, of course, according with other people, but other road users. But then what would be your response this time? Are you hopeful this time, or why is it this is the third time round, and why did it fail the first 2 times? I guess let's start there.
I think I just cite failure to enforce the law. It's illegal to operate Probox as a matatu. It's not it's not regulated. It's the best it can do in PSV is to be a taxi where it's placed in a hotel or a supermarket to be hired to ferry people to various areas. But it's an illegality. So I don't know where policemen fail. Just like seeing bank robbers robbing a bank and you're not acting. So I think this time round we will be shouting hard. If anything, we will get involved in enforcing the law, even if it is illegal doing the same. Because why should they destroy an industry? We are thinning every day. Public transport is thinning every day. My members have been thinking of buying Proboxes because they've been made legal, though in books it's illegal. So I think this time round that directive will be taken seriously by us, and we'll make sure that they are not operating.
Okay. Mr. Major, coming to you, it is Road Safety Week, and when many Kenyans think of NTSA, we just think Alcoblo. That's all that's being done to promote road safety. But there's much more than that, and we'll get into some statistics. But my question to you is, do you think that NTSA is doing enough currently to raise awareness on road safety in Kenya?
Thank you very much for hosting us this morning. And as has been happening in other years, on 20th of November, which normally is the third week of the third Sunday of each year, the UN declared a day to be set aside to pray and to be together with the families of those who have lost their loved ones through road traffic accidents. So this is a build-up exercise as we wait for Sunday for the World Day of Remembrance. Yes, NTSA is doing a lot in terms of road safety. That's one of our core mandates. We are known more for Alcoblo, which shouldn't be the case. We have also been involved in other interventions. And we are happy to note that as we approach this day, this year, the number so far as at yesterday, we are slightly below last year's figures at about 2%. A lot still need to be done. So
just explain what you mean by those figures.
Yes, compared to same position last year, yesterday we were 2% lower in terms of accident fatalities. This is happening at a backdrop of high levels of motorization, more vehicles on the highways. The coverage of the road network also has increased. So when you put that, it's not good enough, but it is a positive step towards what we are trying to do. There are many more interventions that needs to be put in place, and Alcoblo is just one of them. As Mr. Kimutai has mentioned here, on the issue of the illegal vehicles operating as PSVs, if you look at the interventions we have put in place, especially in the PSV industry, we developed some regulations in 2014, which has helped reduce fatal accident from the PSV industry by almost 20%. Our concern is if we don't tame or control this mushrooming of illegal PSV operators, it is time to roll back all the gains that we have started seeing in this sector. I must also say that we have seen this year a very significant drop in pedestrian fatalities, and I want specifically to thank the citizen media for partnering with us in some of the activities that we've been putting in place, especially on the issues of erections of guardrails to protect pedestrians. Nairobi alone has seen a drop in pedestrian fatalities by about 23%, which is very significant. This has never happened before. So some of the interventions that we are putting, people may not appreciate the impact, but pedestrian guardrails is very impactful.
Right, and also just like over to Mr. Kimutai as well, just like the NTSA, we know, they do much more than Alcoblo. But also when we talk about matatus, the first thing that comes to people's mind is, reckless driving, overlapping, sometimes overloading. So basically it's bribing, all those issues that come up. And even as we go towards this week, what is the association doing to make sure that some of these people, yes, now they're in circles and everything is easier to trace, but those habits, what are you guys doing to kind of to curb that, and so that then you enhance road safety?
Well, I know very well that there's been a lot of issues concerning the character of those who are steering this industry, with the drivers and the conductors. It's a great concern, and we've gone ahead to ask our industry partners to help us facilitate training, and we have partnered with the Automobile Association, and we've been going around the country to sensitize on the same. Unfortunately, we are overwhelmed because quite a number. We have over 400 crews. It should be over 500,000 now, and to get to each one, to be able to reform them, because actually it's more of attitude than any other thing. But we are trying our best, and also we want to appreciate the other areas. There are some matatu drivers who behave very well. Unfortunately, we don't appreciate them by patting their shoulders. The eye is very good in catching those who misbehave. And of course, there is the issue of like in the city. That's where most of this happens. This vehicle is carrying. It's not a justification for breaking the law, but this vehicle carries, let's say, 33 passengers, and we have very many saloon vehicles. They want to get to the city and come back to take others to work. That's the unfortunate bit. It's only that they have to break the law. We've been asking for dedicated lanes where they can ply and be able to, get faster and come back for more people. What we've done is to try and sensitize them and let SACCOs be able to manage this misbehaving. It's a thing that can be done away with, but we would want all the time. I've always proposed these people to not undergo any kind of training. And we've told the government they're required to set up an institution that can help professionalize the industry and at the same time give them ethics, teach them so many things that they should not be doing. Information is power. And unfortunately, when people misbehave, they feel because that's the only alternative that they've had. They feel that that is the real thing to be in. But if we have an alternative training to convert them to good drivers, I believe they can be people who would obey the law. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Major, coming back to you, you talked about the statistics for fatalities from last year to this year being lower by 2%. We also have to talk about what serious injuries, how they affect society, because they often take very productive members of society. It's just the health burden, the disabilities, all of that also factors into what we're discussing here as a whole. So maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, very important. And the theme for this year, World Day of Remembrance, is medical care, investigation and justice for the accident victims. The medical cost of the victims is high, and it's even worse in that world countries such as ours, because majority of the people are not, their incomes are not able to support the medical bills that come along when somebody is involved in an accident. So the theme for this year is to try and involve, because quite a number of people, when they're involved in an accident, can be saved, and the severity of injuries can be minimized if they are handled the right way. So the theme for this, the rally call for this year, is how do we handle those people who end up being caught up with this challenge? How are they removed from the wreckage of the vehicle, for instance? How are they transported to hospital? And what is the care after that? And you remember, last year there was a single case of an accident victim who was in an ambulance for 18 hours. Those are the things that we are saying must be addressed, so that the public, the institutions that are responsible for this can be, capacity is developed, and even the skills to handle accident victims is very critical. Then again, the issues of investigations. Do we investigate this accident so well so that we try to understand what was the root cause of this accident? And that will inform us on how to, in future, help in prevention. Again, very critical. What is the justice? How are the victims? Our court processes are very lengthy. It takes years for some of the victims to be adequately compensated. So those are the things that are of concern, and we want to bring them to the fore, so that because we cannot say that we can eliminate, and no country has ever succeeded in eliminating 100% of the accidents. But when it happens, what do we do? The insurance industry plays a very critical role. The people who are insured, are they medically, how fast are their medical claims, let's say, reimbursed to them? I know we have a challenge. We have what we call ambulance chasers in this country. It's unfortunate. But in one of the functions we went yesterday, Matatu Owners Association, we saw an insurance industry which has come up with a very unique proposal that you can insure yourself for as little as 70 shillings for a day. And in the course of that day, there is a band that is in your hand. If you are traveling, you get it. And in the unfortunate event that you are involved in an accident, you are assured that you will have the right medical attention that we see, because the cost is very, very expensive. And actually, if you look at the total cost of accidents to the country, it's about 2% of GDP, which is very, very significant. So it is very expensive. And unfortunately for our situation as third world countries, most of the people who are affected by these problems are breadwinners of families, and therefore the effect to the families to the family unit is very massive, because maybe it's a sole breadwinner. So despite one person being affected, many more behind are actually affected by this problem.
Maybe to add up on what Meja has said, Matatu Owners Association has partnered with very many industry related institutions. First, we have had a thorough training with St. John Ambulance to sensitize drivers and teach them how to handle accident victims, because when there is an accident involving any vehicle, mostly maybe it could be a matatu, there could be a matatu within maybe a span of 2 minutes. They have been trained on how to handle injured people. And at the same time, we have partnered with Resolution Assurance or Insurance, to health insurance, to come up with a product that would insure a passenger by paying 70 shillings for 24 hours journey. And in this particular case, you'll have a band that will make any hospital accept you, because most people are turned by good hospitals because of failure to pay by accident victims. And this, we've sensitized passengers that maybe forego a bottle of soda to have a cover that will give you 24-hour cover that can allow you to be admitted in any hospital because of the band. It's electronically, once it's sold to you from a ticketing position of a circle, then it is activated and it is reflected in Resolution Health Center, where it will know such people have traveled. So this will enable people be attended to very fast, as opposed to earlier on, maybe if it's Nairobi, people have to take you only to Kenyatta.
And there's a question actually that has also come from online asking about if that goes to the Matatu Owners Association, about if you have, we've talked about investigations and justice, and so most of the times when we see these accidents happening, either the driver goes missing, or the tout goes missing. So is there a mechanism within MOA to deal with some of these people who are breaking the law?
Yes, what happens is, Major can state that very well. There is that provision in law that we must have all the documents of any employee in public transport. Even if he disappears, the law is very clear. A warrant of arrest can be issued and they can be arrested. But in most cases, they maybe run away in fear of what could happen immediately, but they later on resurface. But somehow for us, we have all the documents for any employee in the industry. Yeah, so it's very simple to trace a person, however much he could want to hide. But you'll always hide, but you'll run, but you cannot hide.
Okay, another question that came through online, perhaps for NTSA. Kenyans are very critical of NTSA. They feel like I was saying earlier, other than alcohol, what is it that you're doing? We've heard some practical steps that MOA is taking here with the insurance wristbands and such. How else can you assure Kenyans that you're working harder than you were last year to improve road safety, to educate the public, pedestrians and passengers alike?
I think, yes, it is true, and unfortunately that is how the majority of Kenyans are. They are very critical of any intervention. We are hardly 3 years old as an institution, so there's a lot more that we are doing. Setting up the organization itself took quite a lot of time. I think now we have settled down, and now we are concentrating on our commandex. A lot of it, public education and awareness needs to go in place. And an example I can give, we have developed regulations that are helping us to guide some of these issues. And one of the gaps that we have identified is the fact that, for instance, in the PSV industry, the capacity of this, we develop regulations so that this industry can do self-regulation without necessarily the government being there each and every time, so that the first level of response is the officials of the SACCO itself. But we have realized, for those SACCOs who are properly organized, actually zero fatalities, no accident at all, which is a very good example. Those are the SACCOs we need to emulate. But to do so that we move faster, we also know that there are those who are almost like rogue, and those are the ones we need to deal with. And we have, as an institution ourselves, deliberately set aside funds in this year's budget to try and build the capacity of these circles, especially at the management of these circles, so that we do not have a situation where people obey the law just because the police or NTSA is there. No, that shouldn't be the case. But I want also to appeal to the public. Road safety is a personal responsibility. It must begin from an individual. And for instance, if you look at the issues we see on our roads, some of the accidents are easily avoidable with a simple thing of courtesy. Simple things like wearing of safety belts. We ignore them, but the impact on road safety is significant. I think that's what we need to do, a lot more public education and awareness. We are also in collaboration now, we are involved under the ministry with the road authorities, identifying which are the hazardous zones, commonly referred to as black spots, to try and address them. Because there are areas that we are prone to accident. Like an example is Salga. We have been looking at what is the root cause. Why do we have accident on this particular section of the road? And now we are discussing with the road authorities to propose treatments. The other issue is, which is critical, is enforcement. If we don't enforce the law effectively, I think we may not go far. And I think we are happy that so far, early this year, actually about a few months ago, for the first time we have police officers attached to NTSA to make it possible for us to effectively enforce the law. Those are some of the interventions that, when effectively applied, then we can definitely start seeing a reduction in the number of fatalities on the highways. But very important, everybody must play a role.
Right. I think what I would want to say is that the industry, public transport, requires protection because it has generated lots of interest, be it probox, be it those who are supposed to be enforcing the law are going there to collect revenues and so forth. For instance, probox, we have, I think, over 30,000 proboxes in the country.
Operating as PSV?
Operating as PSV.
Wow.
And it's been there all along, from the first day. The biggest problem we have is enforcement. Nobody wants to intervene. Why do we wait for it to grow to be a monster? That's the biggest question we have. It's because of interest. I don't know now that Major has had policemen seconded to his NTSA. What happens to the other traffic officers who are on the road? Are they going to compete? Are they going to operate differently? I think it's very important that this has got to be made collectively, as opposed to having NTSA here and then the other traffic policemen on the other side. I believe all this has got to be done in tandem with what's happening on our roads. And as I said, if this is not addressed, the whole industry will collapse, and we will go back to zero. You remember, we had BRT in Nairobi. I came to Nairobi in 1980, and we had buses, big buses. Today we are trying to go back to it because they were never protected. So if this industry is not protected, then it will go back, then we start again. You know, it will cost so much to go back to where we had reached. So I think it is important for those in authority to understand that a small thing, once it comes in, it becomes a monster. You'd rather arrest it now. But I think what we call the electronic way of paying fare would help us, because these monies would be removed from these vehicles. You know, the people who are involved in money changes are our drivers and traffic officers, and even in Nairobi, council officers. It's because they have money that we can't account for easily. And if the monies are removed, I believe this would do a big blow to corrupt practices on our roads.
Right, there's a comment here from somebody called Brazil Musumba who's saying, kindly address double parking of matatus along Kenyatta and Moi Avenues near GPU and archives. But I'll just use his question to ask another question, or rather his concern to ask another question of, you know, there's still that blatant disregard rather of the laws, like something like double parking and all this stuff. So is it that there are no stiff penalties, or are the stiff penalties there, or is it taking action on these penalties after? Where is the problem? Because people are still have such a disregard for the law.
I think city planners, this city cannot expand, and as I said earlier on, public transport is a private business, and unless a mechanism is put in place where we would be cutting across the city, if I come from Ngong and drop the passengers and suppose only to go back to Ngong, it becomes a bit tricky, because I would want to have passengers. The nature of us people reporting to work at the same time, children going to school at the same time, people opening their business at the same time, 8 o'clock in the morning. So you'll find all buses have come to town, and they want to make it economical to move back. Because, I mean, if it's business, and you go without passengers, it will have no economic value. So I believe there must be a mechanism that can be put in place by NTSA for letting nobody park in the city, but cut across. If I'm coming to Ngong, maybe I end up going up to Outer Ring Road, spreading out. Then I'll have passengers from Kenyatta going to Jogoo Road, others going to Umoja. So it will be very easy, as opposed to dropping people and waiting for people to board buses to go back to where they come from. So yeah, so I think that would be the best method, because what we need to do is to look at the best practice in the world. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are best practices, and I believe that can happen. And then also I think NTSA should recommend that, because this is a service, there should be, in most countries you'll find that the state is involved in public transport, because it's very expensive for private business to do it very effectively. But here they could even waive licenses, waive the parking fee, waive maybe 0 rate on tax on fuel, because it's a service. This is actually the wheel of economic activities. We facilitate those activities. Without us, it can't happen. Okay. And yet we are expected to ensure that the city is free flow for traffic. So it becomes tricky.
Yeah. I think it's not fair to have this conversation on road safety without engaging border operators, because I don't know, maybe you can give us the statistics on, in terms of accidents and fatalities, where they play a part, but we also have some representatives here to talk to us today.
Actually, this is a sector that is really giving us also challenges. While I say that the pedestrian fatalities have dropped by about 17% nationally, the opposite is happening in the border industry. There is an increase by 19%. And the behavior you see on border riders on our ways it's really bad. They have completely disregard to any form of law. They overtake from the right, from the left, they cut corners. Where there is a roundabout, they cut corners. It's unfortunate. Look at the protective gear. We have developed very comprehensive regulations that, if properly enforced, this sector we also see a reverse in terms of the numbers of people that we are getting. But what bothers us is you find somebody being ridden, no helmet at all. A simple thing like a helmet can save a life. So if you choose to use this mode of transport, be prepared to go with the right clothing, like a reflective jacket, a helmet. Those are basic things. And also insist on the rider that I don't want to be ridden or driven in such a manner. By so doing, we will make sure that we will also help these riders to get disciplined. Otherwise, this is a serious problem. The intention of the government when it waived duty on motorcycles to help create employment, especially to the young youth. But again, now it's becoming a serious challenge. And if you look at all hospitals, major hospitals all across the country, we have victims, we have awards that are specifically set aside for victims of border. So that is not the intention. And I think we want to appeal even to the leadership of this organization like Borders. They need to play a proactive role, talking to their members to see sense in some of these issues, because you find some of the things that happens, the behavior, it's a problem. And if you look at the numbers that are coming into the country each month, and we have the statistics because we register them, we have an average of 10,000 motorcycles coming into the country every month. So that problem again is becoming bigger and bigger. And we don't want, of course, to say that we start a process where we want to propose to reinstatement of duties. But we want to appeal to this industry to be disciplined. They know that they are carrying human beings. Because a 19% increase, it's very significant. In fact, it's the worst among all the other categories.
Right, and of course, like you say, we need to appeal to the leaders, and luckily for us, the leaders are here, and I guess we just jump into that. We have the chair of the Border Association as well, Mr. Ken Onyango, is here with us today. Ken, of course, you've heard what Mr. Major has said. What would be your response to that?
Thank you very much, Willis and Citizen, for inviting us here. mostly we've not been in a position to actually get a platform like this so that we can also ventilate on some of the issues that have been affecting our industry and Boda Boda as a whole. Number one, I'd like to point clearly that Boda Boda, most of the things that have been associated with this industry are normally negative, and I was in another platform just to talk about the same, and if you ask and if you do your statistic, you realize that the positives in this sector, when you cumulatively compare them with the negatives, you realize the positives are on the higher trend. The challenge that we have, and what Mr. Major has just talked about, we have a problem with working very closely with the NTSA, because they actually have this attitude of actually looking at the Boda Boda itself as underdogs. They don't. They give directives from the other side of the bridge, and say. And Major has just pointed out here that most of our major hospitals have even set aside wards for Boda Boda itself. But what are we doing when it comes to safety? Because now we are talking about safety. What are we doing in the first place just to ensure that this one don't continue, this trend does not continue in this line? Because right now, if you talk about safety, let's specifically speak about even the protective gear that are in the market. Who is allowing the protective gear that are in the market right now to come so that it can be sold to the Boda Boda operators? It is the NTSA that is clearing, and the other day there was a guideline on regulation on some of the things that Boda Boda operators need to have for them to be on the road. And they also gave this directive to all the dealers that are selling this motorcycle. Most of the helmets that are in our market right now are substandard helmets. They are completely substandard, and these helmets are the ones who are even helping most of the riders when they have minor accidents, just for them to crash. Why? Because the helmets in the first place are substandard. And I was so much shocked when we had a show, a safety campaign at the showground, Jamhuri, and NTSA were present. Some of the helmets that they brought and they gave it out freely to Boda Boda operators, in the first place, they were substandard. I actually told them that these helmets, when you compare with them, look at this helmet. This is the standard helmet that needs to be in the market. And the government, if they want to talk about safety and ensure that our riders are safe, the passengers are also safe, and we change the culture that is right now in the whole market. And I agree with him that we have notorious riders on our roads, and we have circles that we've also registered, and we also want to work very closely with NTSA. And these circles, most of the riders that are registered with these circles, because the regulation says that they must be registered within circles for them to operate, so they can have discipline, and we do self-regulation. But right now, as we speak, NTSA is speaking from the other end, and we are on this other end. Who is helping us to make sure that we enforce this? Because we also trying from our levels, and we are lacking enough capacity. We don't say we don't have, we have. But we are reaching a particular level where we need also NTSA to come in so that we can streamline this. Because some of us, we have put our other leaders on our roads just to highlight these few things, few issues. And some of the members who belong to particular circles, we take stern actions against them. We have disciplined our members who are within circles. We have those that are just running up and down. And because there's no regulation on when you go to buy a motorcycle, they don't ask you what are you going to do with this motorcycle. You just buy. You buy they give you the 2 helmets and the reflective jackets, and tomorrow you are on the road. Who will know that you are registered here or there? If you work very closely with them, that one will help us, and we will streamline, because the industry itself has totally reduced the headache that the government has for the youth and employment. Most of the riders that are riding motorcycle are youths. Vijana, those that have just cleared school, Form 4 or so, or those that have just cleared college. We also have teachers. The time that we are having strikes here and there because the salary is on the lower side, they're also joining Boda Boda so that they can try to balance from whatever they are getting. The only thing we need them to come and work very closely, and that's what we've been praying for. We work very closely when it comes to road safety, when it comes to disciplining our members. If you work very closely with them, the way they are doing with Matatu, because I'm very much sure Director Mr. Major cannot give directive for Matatu guys from this end and does not work very closely with Kimutai. It will be very difficult.
All right. So, of course, Mr. Major, you've had his concerns. He's saying, speaking from the other side of the bridge, well, how can you go to their side?
Well, we are willing because it is a problem. And when we see the numbers, obviously, it is a concern to us. And our main mandate is reduction of the fatalities overall. So we are willing. But one of the difficulties we've been having is to have a properly organized leadership among the boda itself. Because sometimes we hear that I'm the chair of this. But when you look at it critically, the organization level is actually not there. So we will be going out, reaching out. We are available to address some of these things. We have developed very good regulations to guide the sector. And the issue of standards, the mandate is actually not with us. It is with another government agency. We shall challenge them that they must ensure that whatever is coming into the country is meet the standards, because the standards of helmet is gazetted. The quality is there. So it is the duty of the responsible agency to make sure that we don't have substandard items here. But more importantly, you find a rider, even with a helmet, just placed on top of the motorbike. There is no use, and it's just placed there. The other issue is, why do you need, and the leadership of this boda know, why do you need to carry more than one person? You find a whole family being carried and ferried within the same motorcycle. Traffic rules violations, overtaking from the left. We all see it all over. It's dangerous. So I think those are the challenges that we need to bring forward, and an element of enforcement. I don't dispute at all. This sector is critical to the economy, especially in terms of job creation. But it must be done in a safe manner for it to be sustainable.
Okay, I think we're going to take final comments in a moment, but we are yet to hear from the other gentleman who is accompanying you. Perhaps you can introduce him, and we can hear from him also on the Boda Association.
Thank you. My name is Henry Mchwenge, the Vice Chair. On my side, I can say that, if you don't accept the blame, then you cannot move forward. Of course, we have got so many challenges on our part, but also there is another challenge from the other side, as Mr. Onyango has said. You'll find most of the time maybe boda is being blamed, we are causing accidents and whatever, but we are not the only road users. And in most cases, when you find an accident, you'll find maybe in minimal moments you can find a boda with a boda crash, but it's always a boda with a matatu, a boda with a personal car. So when we try to just look at the boda sides, and we don't also look at the matatu or the vehicle sides, because these people doesn't know that boda also have the right to use the road. So maybe I'm keeping the right of my way, but now on the other side, this person doesn't want to know that I also have the right to use the road. So you find out that the accident goes up because we are also not protected. So that is what I'll say, because if you look at it clearly, you'll find that in most cases we are not given the right of the way. We are not seen as if we are on the road. So on the part of NTSA also has to educate other users of the road that also bodas have to use the road. That one, I know the accidents will go on the lower side.
All right, so of course
the last thing is also to talk about the regulation that Mr. Major just pointed. We have very good regulations. Those regulations, I've read them. They are completely acceptable to all of us. The only thing we need to make sure that they are now applied fully. They are applied fully, because I understand that those people are using matatu. If you're using a matatu and the driver has actually put on the safety belts, and now the passenger, some of them have not put the safety belt. You don't go and arrest the driver. You arrest those people that don't comply. The regulation is very clear. Most of the riders, if you carry a passenger, you give them the helmet. Some of them don't put on those helmets. They just hold them in their hands. When you are on the steering, you don't understand whether they are put on the helmets or not. When you arrive where the police officers are, they totally disregard completely whether you as a rider, you've complied, your bike is insured, and you have everything you followed. But the passenger is totally doing the opposite. All of you are arrested, and most of the time, not even all of you. The passenger will be left, the police will impound your motorbike, and at the end of the day, the rider is the loser. We need to also ensure that that regulation is completely followed to the letter. If the passenger does not comply, let the passenger face the consequence. And lastly, on designated areas of operation, the regulation says very clearly that it is the mandate of NTSA together with the relevant county governments that are going to set aside areas of operation for the motorcycle operators. Right now as we speak, that one does not happen. Anybody buys a motorcycle, put it out of the gate of Citizen here or out of the NTSA gate or wherever, and they start operating. It is not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, sadly, we're running short on time, and I think we can all agree on the challenges that have been presented here, but we started a very important conversation. I just want to give each of you a chance for a really quick final word on road safety.
Well, we'll join hands on Sunday to remember those who have perished, on our roads, and those who are injured. Most people, actually, as you are outside here, you don't know there are people in the spinal injury who require prayers and maybe material support. So we want to also tell the public, it's that person this time. Maybe next time it will be you. You'll be confined to a wheelchair. So put them on prayers. At the same time, maybe contribute towards the injury hospitals they are in, especially spinal injury hospital. And for those who are doing illegal business, it's free. I mean, Major will license you if you bought a matatu which is compliant, and you do good business as opposed to doing illegal business. Illegal business means you can end up in jail, or anything can happen to you. So it's good for them to understand that there are laws in this country that must be obeyed.
Okay, in 1 minute or less, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much again, and we want to invite everyone to be with us on Sunday as we remember and as we pray for the victims of road traffic accidents. In whatever way that you can do as citizens, let's help them, let's pray for them, but more importantly, let's do what we need to do towards reduction of this problem. And if you look at the challenge, 85% of the problem is caused by human beings. So by human behavior itself, by us behaving correctly and observing traffic rules and regulations, we can reduce this problem by 85%. So every one of us has a responsibility. It's not the time to pass the blame. Let's accept there is a problem and let's deal with it, knowing that by behaving well on the road, and for as long as there's one driver who is rogue on our highways, no one of us is safe. So we have a duty and responsibility to make sure that we are responsible on our roads. But more importantly, my parting shot, we want to involve the general public in monitoring our highways, because we cannot have a situation where each and every kilometer of road is manned by police officers or NTSA. It cannot happen. What we have done is that we have developed an app which you can go to if you are using Android, an Android powered phone. Go to Play Stores, download NTSA, search for NTSA. There's an app that we have developed so that if you see misbehavior on our roads, you report to us and we shall take action. By so doing, we will have many more people who are watching over our highways. And finally, for the illegal operators, as we approach the festive period, and most majority of the people who use this, that these are illegal vehicles. Let them be prepared to be inconvenienced, because wherever you'll be caught, we will stop you and we will not allow you to go on the journey. So it is very important you agree to board a properly organized, registered PSV. They know that they board illegal vehicles. The consequence is be prepared to be inconvenienced.
All right. Okay. Thank you all, gentlemen, for being here and for opening up this discussion, especially as we are observing Road Safety Week. We're going to have a little bit of more music from Samawati Band. Still have to wrap up things with Chef Ali on the other side, so keep it here on Power Breakfast.